Formula 1 circus has arrived at Suzuka in time for the Japanese Grand Prix, but Ferrari have come to Suzuka with a very interesting reveal, which has very much shocked the majority of the paddock. Ferrari have gone ahead and revealed that Max Verstappen turned down a contract offer from the team to drive for them this season. Of course, as you would have seen, Max Verstappen is not on the grid for this season of the F1 journey, and it very much comes as a surprise. Where this gets even more surprising is that Ferrari and Max Verstappen have been trying really hard over the past few years to make a deal work so that Verstappen joins the team for a new season. The last time Max Verstappen drove for Ferrari was back in Season 2 of the F1 journey, but due to a contract scandal that Verstappen wasn't even aware of at the time, it caused a big rift between Verstappen and Ferrari, but eventually that rift has very much healed, and there's been multiple occasions whereby Ferrari and Verstappen have been trying to join forces. Recently, a couple of years ago, when Verstappen was offered the chance to join Ferrari, but it was alongside Lewis Hamilton, in which Verstappen simply said no. So why is it then that Ferrari's long-term target Verstappen was on the cards, but he said otherwise? Well, Ferrari have been in talks with Max Verstappen for the entirety of the winter, and Ferrari felt that they were getting very, very close. They felt that they were pretty much making a deal with Verstappen. Verstappen apparently seemed happy and with everything that Ferrari was saying, and it was almost as if there was a contract literally waiting to be signed, and it had all been printed, and all it needed was Max Verstappen to put pen to paper, and it was job done. But then out of the blue, Verstappen came out to Ferrari and informed them that the deal was off and that he was not going to be joining the team this season. This just doesn't seem to make sense for Ferrari, and it's something that's really been puzzling them for the long term. Of course, the ideal plan for Ferrari was to go with Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri. That was their ideal partnership, that's what their initial plans were. Lando Norris was initially not part of Ferrari's plans, however, unlike previous years, Lando Norris has already been made aware that he was not initially part of Ferrari's plans. But as per the world of sports, things move on. And this is something that's happened in this case for Lando Norris, hopefully for the better for his career. But the question remains, why did Max Verstappen, when everything sounded good, when the contract was literally printed and it was a case of just getting him down to sign the contract, did it all collapse? Hopefully, in the future, we can find out just why Max Verstappen decided against joining Ferrari and, crucially, not getting himself a seat for this season of the F1 journey. Taking a look at the race news heading into this weekend, it's McLaren that lead the way in practice. Obviously, last weekend, we saw that it was Porsche that were the fastest team in practice, and they went on to dominate qualifying and the race itself. Will we be seeing that this weekend? Well, we're obviously just going to have to wait and see. A team that's been making progress heading into this weekend is BMW, particularly on their long runs. They actually had some really competitive long run pace, which they're hoping to take full advantage of heading into this race weekend. Now, for BMW's sake, they're going to want to hope that the rain doesn't play too much of a part, as it is expected that we will be seeing some rain heading into this weekend. It's just a question of when and where. For BMW, they're going to be wanting the rain to come through to qualifying to hopefully give them an opportunity at getting themselves a little bit higher up the grid. If they can use their race pace that they say that they've got to full effect, then that might just give them an opportunity to get their first points of the season. Now, one man that's struggling a lot this weekend is Lewis Hamilton. He's very much been struggling to find the good balance with his car. As stated, with the rain heading this weekend, a lot of teams are definitely thinking about what to do with regards to their setup. Do they go ahead and set the car up so that it is more suited to the wet weather, but it could hurt them in the race? Or will they definitely go ahead and sort out their car so that it's better in the race, but hurt them in the wet? But of course, a lot of teams are suspecting that the rain is going to come for qualifying, but there's no guarantee that the rain is not going to fall during the race as well. So it's very much a very difficult outcome for all of these drivers to try and navigate. But one man that's not really bothered about that and is actually having a great time is Daniel Ricciardo. He's showing great speed again throughout the course of practice, and it's definitely something that he'll be taking as form of momentum heading into this weekend. Daniel Ricciardo will be looking to get a good race result here today. Of course, after his DNF in his home race in Australia, he'll be looking to bounce back in fine form. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey. We are here for round number 2. This is season 10 of the F1 journey. It's time for the Japanese Grand Prix, and we're going to get straight on with qualifying. If you haven't joined today's video, feel free to drop it a like, and if you are new around here and you enjoy the content you do see, be sure to click that subscribe button as well to help support the channel. But let's get straight into it then and crack on with this race then. As you can see, for the first time this season, we have got some rain that is taking over the circuit here for the entirety of qualifying, as we went super wide there through 130R. But as we go in towards the Casio Triangle now, and on to the start-finish straight here, this is just our banker lap time. Getting a lap time on the board, it's obviously absolutely rubbish, but I fueled for 2 laps. So we're going to go ahead and complete our second flying lap, and as you can see, we are 1.5 seconds up, in fact 1.6 seconds up now on our previous best lap time. So as we cross the start-finish line, this will be a little bit more representative, and it's P9 with the fastest final sector. But of course, we've got to go again. So here we go then. This is our final lap here. We're down in 18th place at the moment as we make our way to the start-finish line and go for a do-or-die lap time here. We need a good lap time because it is very hard to overtake here on this circuit. So let's see how we get on then. As we go through towards turn 1 then, leaving it late onto the brakes here, dropping it down into 5th gear as we already find ourselves 2 tenths, nearly 3 tenths up now on our previous best lap time, and it's just coasting the throttle now through this S section, just making sure that we allow the rear end to stay with us and not actually spin around on us. But as you can see, we get it absolutely spot on, and we are 8 tenths up on our best lap. The track is getting better at this stage of the qualifying session, and we are the last man out there, dropping it into 7th for the first Degner, then down to 4th for the second Degner. Get on the traction as early as you possibly can, and that's what we do. And we're 1.5 seconds up now on our previous best lap time into the hairpin. Probably broke a little bit too early through there as we now get onto the throttle, as some drivers are starting to improve on their lap times. As Sam now, that's not Norris again, I've said this before but I'll say it again, there is no names mod yet, and I can't do names mod because I just don't have a clue how. So that is not Lando Norris, that is Sam that has gone fastest of all as we now go on to the straight here after Spoon Corner, and a little bit shaky on the rear end, but we're still 1.5 seconds up on our previous best lap time. So how are we doing in terms of performance? Well, we are just about in there in the middle sector compared to some of our rivals in front of us. But of course, I want to be right up there as we go through in towards the chicane now for the final time here. We're 1.7 seconds up now. Back end slides a little bit there as we make our way down towards the start-finish line. Where's that lap going to put us? I think it's P6. Here we go then, it is race time for round number 2 of the F1 journey. It is the Japanese Grand Prix, and for the first time this season, we have our official race intro. So shout out to Sam for making that. You can check out his link in the description down below. But we've got a race on our hands, and it is going to be a rather fascinating one for all of us. The figure of 8 circuit, the only figure of 8 circuit, 3.68 miles long, provides plenty of tests and challenges for the drivers, especially through the S sections in the first sector. Only one DRS zone on this circuit, so it's definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge for our drivers. It is the C3, the C2 and the C1 tyre compounds, and as you can see on your screen down below is the results of qualifying as we have a look here at Pierre Gasly starting further back down the grid than he probably would have liked, whereas someone like me is actually starting a little bit further up than where I would have liked. But it was a shocking qualifying session for the likes of Van Dorn and Hamilton. They have got work to do. So here we are then on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's going to be a dry race as I fly through all of that then. Starting on P6 on the grids here, we've got the 5 red lights here, and it's lights out, and away we go. A super quick light sequence there from us, and unfortunately not a great start here. We actually lost the position straight away to Pato O'Ward on the inside there, down towards turn 1. We actually go back up the inside of O'Ward and reclaim that position back, but he's going to carry it on side by side. But we're able to force O'Ward wide as we go through towards the S section here, getting it all out of shape now. O'Ward tries to come back at us, but we don't let that happen, and that is us staying in P6 for the time being here. As you can see now, Sam leads this race. He's got the 2 Ferraris there, as we've still got pressure right from behind us here of someone that fancies to move on us. It's actually one of the Porsche cars there of, I believe it's Sainz at this stage of the Grand Prix. But yeah, he's trying to get onto the back of us. I'm not letting that happen, but Sam leads this Grand Prix out front for McLaren as we go in towards the hairpin now for the first time here, having a look, and I wanted to try and send up the inside or maybe swoop around the outside there, but unfortunately we're just too far back at that stage. What we have done is close right up now to these front runners here. So now we can put ourselves in the game here, dumping our battery in towards Spoon just to get us nice and close here. And again, just braking a little bit too late there. And unfortunately, back end slides there from the Porsche. That's going to give us an opportunity to maybe go for it now as we open up the taps here on the straight. And look at the straight line speed that we have got in the Mercedes-Benz here. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it to 130R. We're going to try it here on race into 130R. Super close there. I'm to back out of it though. Mid-corner. And then we're just going to send it up the inside though into the final chicane here and get the job done on Reese. That's us up into 5th place. 1 place gains on the start of this race. And Sam leading the way with the fastest lap, as you would expect. We crossed the line and we gained 1 place from that ordeal. Very different to previous seasons where I gained like 12 or so places in 1 lap because I'm actually starting in a decent position here. So let's have a look at the race start though. So, as you can see, all things look quite normal between the top 3. We're trying to go through in towards the first corner here. It's a good battle between Perez and Reese there for position as we go towards the S section. This is where the heavy fuel, the medium compound tyres are a little bit cool. Sort of disadvantaged me, it disadvantaged Pato Award a little bit there. This is what it looked like from Sergio Perez's perspective. So as he gets on the power here, you can see that he's actually struggling to outdrag Reese into turn 1. But it's crucial that Oscar Piastri in the Ferrari is really hurting Reese's acceleration. That just allows Sergio Perez to say, thank you very much, I'm going around the outside. This is Carlos Sainz's POV now, and he actually had a very good start here. As you can see, there's a big blockage there from myself on Daniel Ricciardo. I bogged down at the start, but I held my ground to make sure that I wasn't overtaken by Ricciardo. Compromising him actually allowed Sainz through, and I don't know if I show it in the replay here, but as you can see, this is a Ward trying to go around the outside. I'm having none of that, and Sainz there says, thank you very much, I'll have a piece of that. Lap 2 of the Grand Prix now, and there's a little bit of a slide there on the rear end for Sergio Perez, which is going to unsettle his car, but I found out that on the exit of Spoon and on the run up towards 130R, my car compared to the AI's is rapid, and I just feel like they're not using their battery deployment in this area of the circuit, and we're going to take advantage of that here and go around the outside of Sergio Perez. He actually forces us very wide there, literally using all of the track limits to get the overtake done there on Sergio. And that's actually going to really put him off here, because that move has put him right under pressure now from quite a lot of cars here now as they go down onto the straight here. Here comes Carlos Sainz now for a run on Sergio Perez as they go down the straight. We've got Award in the mix here. We've got Reese also trying to find a way through in all of this now. So they're going towards turn 1. Who's going to get the move done? Well, Sainz has got the move done on Sergio Perez. Award has got the move done on Reese to get in front of him, and that is where we stand on that front, as next up for us are the 2 Ferraris that are right on Sam's tail here. Back on board with Pato Award and also Sergio Perez here. Lap 4 of the Grand Prix. Award is going to go for a run here on Sergio Perez up towards 130R. Will they have the straight line speed to go for it down towards 130R? Or will they have to go side by side? It's side by side for the 2 into 130R they go. Keeping it together though as they go down into the final chicane now. Let's see who comes out on top here. Award really desperate to make this move done on Sergio Perez, but he doesn't. No overtake there for Award, shockingly enough. For him, he's going to have to sit back a little bit longer, but the DRS though is going to be enabled for the guys behind him. That's going to put him under real pressure here, but not for Ricciardo. He's boxed in Reese here, and he's going to go for it on Award now, down towards turn 1. Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault is going to try and make a move here on Pato Award, and he's going to have to go side by side into the S section. The McLaren's got the better downforce, but Ricciardo has got the confidence to get through, and he's just stolen a nice double overtake there. So fair play to Daniel Ricciardo in all of that. Lap 5 of the Grand Prix, and Sam and Lando Norris are the 2 men that have broken away now, and they have forced Oscar Piastri into not being in DRS range anymore. And because Piastri is not in DRS range, we're quicker than Piastri at the moment in this Grand Prix, and that's allowed us to get onto the back of the Ferrari and go for it now down the inside here on Piastri into the final chicane there, and that is us up into the podium places now on Oscar Piastri. And crucially now, just up ahead are the 2 rivals in this Grand Prix. They're both going to be DRSing each other, so it's going to be very hard to close them down, but for the time being, we've got good pace. Back on board here now with Pato Award, and I'm not quite sure what's happening to Pato. Either he's just falling even further back in this race, or things are going wrong for him, but Mason Wood there is trying to have a look at Reese in the Porsche. Award now is going to get past here by Russell in towards turn 1, so yeah, Pato is definitely going backwards in this Grand Prix. Let's have a look on board here now. As to go down the straight here, he's back. That's not Pato Award. That's Sam. He's been passed by Lando Norris into the first corner. I thought that was Pato Award. I was being a bit sleepy there. on that front. That is Lando Norris taking the lead at the Japanese Grand Prix. And this is Daniel Ricciardo, who's having a great race so far, trying to go up the inside here of Perez into 130R. He got brave then, because Perez was actually a lot further ahead into the corner, but into the final chicane now. Can Daniel Ricciardo make his way ahead of Sergio Perez? Not quite, unfortunately. Let's see if Perez has got DRS here to try and get him down the start-finish straight. I don't think he does. I think it's actually... what's it called? Sergio Perez has got that one. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix, though. Lando Norris did overtake Sam for the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix just 2 laps ago. Now, 2 laps later, Sambri takes the lead to the Japanese Grand Prix ahead of Lando Norris. But crucially for them, they're getting their overtakes done nice and cleanly with the DRS into turn 1, not compromising each other. And that's meaning that because Sam is over, say, half a second behind Lando Norris by the time they get to the DRS zone, by the time they get out of the DRS zone, Sam is ahead. So I've lost half a second on the straight. So for me sitting behind, it's really difficult to catch those two as we see Callum Ilott there making move on the BMW. I think that was Mason Woods, or potentially it was Nick De Vries. No, it was De Vries that the overtake got done on. And now all of a sudden the Aston Martin here fancies a run here at De Vries now into turn 1. Let's see if that Aston of Pourchaire can get around the outside. No, Pourchaire gets forced out to dry there by good old Mr. Nick De Vries there. Lap 12 of the Grand Prix. Somewhere in all of this, Lando Norris repassed Sam for the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix, but it's going to make no difference here because here comes Sam now going side by side with Lando into turn 1, and this is what I need from the top two. A little bit of battling going on between the pair of them, but they get it sorted before they get towards the S section here. Lap 12 of the Grand Prix again, and as you can see here, I'm under pressure now from Piastri, who gets a big lockup into the hairpin. That's a huge one there from Piastri, and that's put him under pressure now. Sainz is going to say, thank you very much, I'll have some of that. And now Sainz is going to make a drag now down towards Spoon Corner with Oscar Piastri. This is crucial for Carlos Sainz's race. If he can get in front of Piastri, that'll be big for him as they go in towards Spoon. Piastri initially breaks a little bit later, but Sainz takes the high ground there and moves up into 4th place. Now it's crucial to see if Sainz can get the move done on me now, but as they go down the straight here towards 130R, Piastri wants to get that place back, and down in towards 130R they go. They're going to go tooth and nail here with each other now in towards the chicane. Who's going to come out on top in this battle as we get closer towards the pit stop phases here? Sainz takes the position, and they both pit then for their stop. So Piastri is under pressure now as he's going to have to hope that his pit mechanics can do a good job. Meanwhile for me, the pit crew have done a great job on my end, and more importantly, I didn't get held in the pits, unlike in Australia where I got badly held. But crucially for Carlos Sainz's race, he's actually still behind us, so it meant that despite the fact that he's obviously made those overtakes on Piastri on track, he's actually also gone ahead and made sure that he stays in front thanks to the work of his pit crew. So he'll be thanking those one for all their efforts later, as we can see Sam just in front of us there has rejoined in front of one of the Aston Martins, but now is a very annoying stage of the race where I've got to try and get those hard tyres up to temperature, and genuinely they're such a pain to get it to temperature. But on board now here with Daniel Ricciardo, who's got a run here on Sergio Perez. They've been having a little bit of a rivalry all race long here, and now for Daniel Ricciardo, he should get this one done. No, he was in front heading into the corner, but he just didn't make it stick here. Back on board now with Carlos Sainz here, who's under pressure from Piastri. He makes a lockup into the last chicane. So Piastri, just before the pit stop that made the lockup earlier in the Grand Prix, now he's had the favour returned to him as Sainz makes a lockup, and that's cost him a heap of time there and a position as we go on board here with Lewis Hamilton. Speaking of Hamilton, awful qualifying sessions, qualified last in this race. Not sure what happened. Obviously didn't get the conditions right in terms of the best of the track in the wet weather, but he's making some progress up the field. It's going to be difficult for him to score points here today, but he's doing everything he can as he gets past one of the Jaguar cars. I think it was Ilott, but on board here with De Vries now, that's going to blast his way past Charles Leclerc in towards the first corner. Can he make the move stick? Yes, he can. Good stuff for Nick De Vries there, passing Leclerc, making Leclerc's race in the Audi much, much more miserable. On board here with Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri, there is me in the foreground there. And crucially for these two, they're going to get battling. And that's beautiful because that's just going to allow me a bit of breathing space. Because after the pit stops, these two were very much hot on my heels. They were in the DRS range. I never showed any clips of it because they weren't, going for legitimate overtakes on me. But they were keeping me very much on my toes. But now that they're battling, it just allows me to just build a little bit of a gap, get a comfortable distance, and crack on with my race and my pursuit of Sam and Lando Norris, who, by the way, on lap 23 of the Grand Prix, I still haven't got near. Someone that has got near to one of his targets is Reese. He's just passed Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault there. So Reese making progress in the Porsche. Of course, Porsche not dominating like we saw at the Australian Grand Prix last weekend. This time around, it's very much between McLaren, Ferrari, and, well, myself here in the Mercedes. Lap 23, it has taken me this long to catch up to Sam. Lando Norris overcut Sam in the pit stops. He's got out of DRS range, and now it's been a hectic chase here. It's been a gap of 2 seconds between Sam and Lando Norris, and a gap of 2 seconds between myself and Sam. And it's taken me, well, 11 laps now to catch 2 seconds on Sam here. It's been that sweaty in this Grand Prix, but finally, we are up into second place now in the Japanese Grand Prix. We are ahead of Sam, and that is Lando Norris just up ahead. Do we have the pace in the last 3 laps to really go for it and pass Lando Norris for the lead of the race? It'll be such a challenge, but we'll go for it nonetheless though. And as you can see, that gap not really coming down between myself and Lando Norris as we go into the last chicane now. Let's see what we can do, but crucially, we've got Sam right behind us. DRS is enabled for the McLaren driver, so will he go for it now on the straight? He's going to be close enough to try it here now on the start-finish straight. Let's see if he goes for it. He's going to go for it now towards the inside line here. Here comes Sam now, down towards turn 1. He's made that one stick, but we're going to try and hang it around the outside into the first corner. Super close. Great racing here as we go tooth and nail with Sam, our famous rival in the F1 journey, round the outside of Sam, but we cost ourselves in the second part of the S section. We go onto the curb, the back end's gone as we go onto the curb, contact with Sam there, into the S section, through towards the Dunlop curb there. Collision has been made there. We lost the rear end, instability from clipping the curb there, and that's allowed Sam to get in front of us now in this race. That's a disaster for us, as I was actually in front of Sam. I managed to defend the position, but just by getting on that curb there, it really unstabled the car way more than I was expecting, and I really had to do a lot then to correct and counter steer that slide that happened there. But we need to get ourselves back in the game, back focused now, because we're getting on to the latter stage of this race. We're on lap 26 here of 27. Unfortunately, with the battling that's going on between myself and Sam, there's no chance, I don't think, unless there's a catastrophic issue with Lando Norris, that we're going to catch and pass him. But now you can see the AIs are dumping their battery. I'm not even using mine, and Sam is just about pulling away. But as we get towards 130R now, we're reeling him in with the slipstream as we've set ourselves up to go for it into the last chicane. We've got the DRS here on the final lap of the Grand Prix. There's no DRS zones apart from the pit straight here. Got to get this exit right. Back in slides on exit. That's a horrible run there, but we'll dump our battery. We'll dump the DRS, keep that open. Now onto the straight here. Here's the impact now. Here we go for it. Sam tries to cover it off there into turn 1. Super close there. We get the job done though. Up into second place in this Japanese Grand Prix, and now we've got to defend him for one more lap. So in towards this S section now. This should be quite comfortable for us as Hamilton there sets the fastest lap of the race so far. Sam trying to go for it round the outside though in the S section, trying to catch us out there as he did previously. On towards the end of the race though, in towards 130R. Sam's getting closer, using the slipstream that he's got on the back of this Mercedes here. Now down in towards the chicane. We just got to cover it off. This is Lando Norris though. For the first time in Ferrari colours, Lando Norris is going to come across the line and win the Japanese Grand Prix. As for us though, we've just about held on to second place here, and for the second race in a row, we have had a super close, super tight finish. This time, rather than it being my teammate Lewis Hamilton in the previous race, it was Sam this time around. But there you can see is the full race classification. For the first time for Ferrari, Lando Norris is your race winner, and I'm sure he'll be absolutely delighted with that. We come across the line in second place by just over 1/10 of a second ahead of Sam in the end. Oscar Piastri picks up P4 for the second Ferrari. It's a great weekend for Ferrari. It's the 2 Porsche cars then next of Carlos Sainz and Reese finishing in 5th and 6th. Daniel Ricciardo had a sensational race here for Renault, finishing in P7. He had an excellent Grand Prix and he beats Pato O'Ward to P8. Sergio Perez finishes the race in P9. And shout out to Mason Wood in the BMW. We saw a lot of overtakes from Nick De Vries in the race, but it was Mason Woods that quietly and carefully snuck himself up into a points-paying position to claim BMW's first points back in Formula 1. That's a great story as well, of course, for Mason Wood, who had the motorsports ban. So, of course, he's been waiting so long to get his career back on track, and now he's able to do that, picking up the points here today. Reese was the man that set the fastest lap of the race for Porsche in the end, with a 1 minute 27.106 for the second race in a row. The man that finished in P6 got the fastest lap point. That's a little bit of a coincidence. Who knows? Having a look at the second half of the table now, and as you can see, it is George Russell that is second, is 11th in the standing, should we say, with a 21.3 second deficit to the man who won the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, in the end, was only able to finish in P12. He did start in P20, so he had a great race. He just wasn't able to recover the time that he lost at the start of the race, and that was all down to his qualifying. Charles Leclerc finishes in 13th for Audi, with Theo Pourchaire finishing in 14th for Aston Martin. Nick de Vries, despite making a lot of overtakes in the race, finishes only in 15th place, with Callum Ilott rounding himself out in P16 for the second Jaguar driver. Valtteri Bottas is 17th for Audi, ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn in 18th place for Red Bull. Colton Herta is 19th for Aston Martin, with Pierre Gasly finishing in P20 for the second Renault car. That is that for the race classification. Taking a look at the Drivers' Championship and seeing how things have changed now after the second round of the season. Well, at the top, it's not changed. Carlos Sainz remains your championship leader, but his championship advantage has been cut to just 2 points ahead of ourselves now. After a good start to the season, 2 podiums so far for us. We are on 33 points, 2 points behind Carlos Sainz, who is currently the championship leader. Rees drops to 3rd in the championship. He's on 27 points as things stand, 8 points off the top of the championship. Lando Norris is 4th for Ferrari. Of course, he's only scored points in 1 event so far, but he has a race victory to his name. So he is on 25 points and he is 10 points off the championship lead. Sam is currently 5th in the championship on 24 points for McLaren, with Oscar Piastri in 6th place on 22 points. The top 6 are all covered by just 13 points. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, no points for him here today for Mercedes-AMG EQ. It's a bit of a shame for us as a team, but again, like I said before, qualifying hurt him badly, and he stays on 12 points. And then there's a battle with all of them on 6 points. That is Sergio Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, and George Russell. They all have 6 points and are 29 points off the championship lead. The next event for us is the F1 Journey Singapore Grand Prix. Traditionally, has been a very, very strong circuit for me, so I'm looking to try and retain my ground as the king of the streets of Singapore. Looking at the Constructors' Championship, it is Porsche that stay out in front. For them, they're on 62 points. Ferrari get the jump on us in the Constructors' Championship. They have now got 47 points, whereas we only have 45. 2 points separates us two. McLaren are on 28 points in the championship, and then it's a very close affair all further back. Jaguar, Red Bull and Renault have all got 6 points to their name. Audi are stuck with just 2 points. BMW have got 1 point, and Aston Martin also have a solitary point, which means after just 2 rounds of the F1 Journey season number 10, every single constructor has got themselves a point this season, which is awesome to see. But that is it for the race itself. Let's go straight into the post-race notebook now and get the reaction from the teams and drivers after the Japanese Grand Prix. Taking a look then at the post-race notebook after the Japanese Grand Prix, Lando Norris claims his first victory for the Scuderia Ferrari. He manages to beat Tom in the Mercedes, who just about got in front of Sam, who settles for P3 for McLaren. It was a great ending for those two drivers. But having a look at everybody else then on the grid, it's all a happy day, what we're going to be focusing on here. First things first, we'll start with the race winner, Lando Norris, who couldn't put into words how it felt to finally win not only a Formula 1 race, as he has managed to do so many times before, but to do it for the Scuderia Ferrari. Ferrari is such a historic team within Formula 1. He feels like not only was it a dream to just race for Ferrari, but to stand on the top step of the podium is the icing on the cake for one of his checklists within his life. Daniel Ricciardo was very much upbeat after the Japanese Grand Prix. He managed to get himself into the points for the first time this season and made up for the issues that happened in Australia, which left him unfortunately pointless and walking back to the paddock early in that race. And lastly, Mason Woods finally has got a little bit of a redemption arc that is going for him. Of course, after his motorsports ban and finally returning into Formula 1 with BMW, they claim their first points since returning to the sport. But Mason Woods has reiterated that this is just the beginning for him and that this is a long, long way to go to not only redeem himself, but to showcase the potential that he had, which is why he got a seat in Formula 1 in the first place. But that is it then, guys. We are done with the Japanese Grand Prix. If you end up enjoying the video, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. We will catch you guys next week for the Singapore Grand Prix. But for now, guys, I'm out of here. Take care all. Peace.